When I first moved to the coast, I didn't come here looking for peace. I came because I didn't know what else to do with myself. The city felt too loud, too bright, too full of people who spoke without saying anything. Out here, the silence felt heavier, but honest. The kind that doesn't pretend to comfort you. The house I found was small and old, sitting alone on the edge of a cliff. From the porch, you could see nothing but water, black, endless water. The woman who rented it to me said the lighthouse nearby hadn't worked in years. She said it like a warning, not a detail. At first, I barely noticed the ocean. It was just background noise. But after a few nights, I started listening to it, really listening. The way the waves crashed against the rocks felt almost rhythmic, like breathing. I told myself it was comforting. It wasn't soon. I started watching it every night. I'd turn off all the lights, sit by the window with a blanket and tea, and stare into the dark. The horizon blurred into the sky until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Sometimes, it felt like the world stopped existing beyond that line. It became a habit I couldn't break. There was something hypnotic about it, how calm it looked from far away, how violent it sounded up close. The water reflected just enough light to seem alive. I caught myself thinking that if I stared long enough, it might look back. One night, it did. The sea was unnaturally still, the kind of stillness that makes you feel like you shouldn't move either. The air felt colder, heavier. Then something broke the surface, a white flicker beneath the moonlight. It wasn't foam. It was deliberate, like something shifting under the waves. I tried to convince myself it was a fish, maybe a seal. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. A few days later, I woke up to dripping sounds. It came from the living room. When I turned on the light, I froze. There were wet footprints, bare, small, leading from the front door to the window. The door was locked from the inside. I just stood there, staring, until the sun started to rise. At the market later that morning, I mentioned it to a woman who worked there. She told me it was probably teenagers playing pranks, but she also said something else, that the last person who lived in my house used to sit up every night, watching the sea. She said he told people the ocean was learning his face. She laughed after saying it, but she didn't sound amused. That night, I stayed inside. I couldn't bring myself to go out on the porch. But I still watched, through the glass, because not watching felt worse. Around 2 in the morning, I saw it again, a shimmer on the surface, almost like a reflection. Only there was nothing out there to reflect. From that night on, I kept the curtains closed. But even when I couldn't see it, I could feel it. The ocean wasn't just something I looked at anymore. It was something that knew I was looking. Over the next few weeks, the tides changed. Locals said it was normal, but the waves were creeping higher every night. The sound of them hitting the cliff started to come in patterns, 3 crashes, then silence. 3 more. Like breathing, again. Only now, it didn't sound distant. It sounded close. I went to the old lighthouse one afternoon. It was half buried in fog, rusted and hollow. Inside, I found a desk, a broken lantern, and a pile of water-damaged notebooks. Most of the pages were gone, but one remained. The writing was almost washed away, but I could still read a single line: "It watches when you watch." After that, I stopped sleeping properly. The nights felt longer, stretched thin. Sometimes I'd wake up to the sound of wood shifting, like pressure against the walls, as if the house was breathing with me. I'd tell myself it was wind, or humidity. But I never checked. Then came the storm. The sky turned the color of steel before it even started. I remember lighting candles while the wind screamed through the cracks in the walls. The power went out before midnight. I sat on the floor, wrapped in a blanket, listening to the house shake. The ocean was louder than the thunder. At some point, I thought I heard it calling my name, not a voice, not words, but a rhythm that matched the way someone might say it. I must have fallen asleep, because when I opened my eyes, it was morning. The storm was over. The air smelled like salt and metal. I went to the window, and that's when I saw it, a mark on the glass, shaped like a hand. Huge. 5 long streaks of salt running down the pane, as if something had leaned there, watching me through the night. I didn't touch it. I didn't even breathe. The mark faded slowly with the daylight, but the glass stayed fogged, like something warm had been pressed against it for hours. I thought about leaving. I even packed a bag once. But when I looked at the water, it was calm again, almost kind. It made me hesitate. I told myself I'd stay one more night. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, every time I sit by the window, the waves come in the same pattern. 3 crashes, a pause. 3 more. Like it's waiting for me to notice. Sometimes I think I see ripples forming words I can't read. Sometimes, when I blink, I swear the horizon moves closer. I know I should stop watching. But I can't, because when I don't, it feels like it's the one watching me.
Like, comment, and subscribe. The Room 13 still has many doors left to open.